So that brings us to News or Snooze, presented by Christopher William Jewelers. Bennett, he'll give me 3 quotes. I'll decide if they're newsworthy or snoozeworthy, but a little bit of a curveball today. They're not only quotes, some of them are just general storylines. Bennett, hit me with the first one.
Tried to mix it up across sports today as we're getting to crossover season. So the first one, men's basketball, asked them this morning. They're coming off a 39-point win over Coppin State, and this is a gritty 1-12 Coppin team. They just will not.
Did you see how? Did you watch the game at all?
I watched a little bit. That's one of the worst basketball teams I've seen. Like, why?
I think they turned it over 25 plus times.
30.
So 25 plus.
30 turnovers.
There were so many times that they'd be in the backcourt, and I don't mean to make fun of them. They're in a rebuilding year under their first year head coach. They were dribbling in the backcourt, and they would just fall.
I mean, they had, what did they have? They finished with, okay, that's sad. I don't even know. It's not even worth saying. But they had 30.
Say it.
Okay. They had 30 made shots, including individual free throws. That's the same number of turnovers that they had.
You should have said that.
Yeah, that's tough. So anyway, the quote or the statement I have here is that JMU is up to number 60 in KenPom's, the highest they've ever been rated going into a game. News or snooze, top 60.
Newsworthy, baby. I can't believe KenPom is undervaluing them so much. I mean, this is a top 20 team in the AP top 25. Why does KenPom not reflect that? This is just an absolute joke. We need to go talk to KenPom Roy. No, I'm kidding. Absolutely fantastic that they're top 60 in KenPom. They're the top team in the Sun Belt. They've been dominating teams offensively and defensively. And if they continue to win, continue what they need to do, they should continue rising up that KenPom rating.
Well said. Okay, number 2, Hevynne Bristow. We said that the waivers, right? Bye waivers. Talked about that last time. They're playing her this year. She says, I'm not waiting. I'm playing this year. Put me in, coach.
She's a baller.
What's your thought on Bristow immediately eligible? They got kind of smoked today by Maryland, and she had a rough showing, but she was good against Maine.
There needs to be a little bit of a breakdown behind that. And I was going to save it for the JMU women's basketball segment, but we can talk about it now. They got stranded in Maine for the last 3 days. They didn't get back to Harrisonburg until yesterday. And then they went from Harrisonburg to College Park because of everything, I guess. Who knew that going to Orono, Maine was hard to get out of? But what she did against Maine was a huge positive impact on that team. In 17 minutes, I believe she had 7 rebounds, 5 defensive, 2 offensive. She had a few points, was quick, was decisive, was exactly what JMU needed. And I'm really excited about what her impact is throughout Sun Belt play, because I think she will be an extremely important piece in Sun Belt play. And I'm chalking up that Maryland game as being tired. You were in an airport for 72 hours.
I can't imagine they stayed in the airport the whole time.
They didn't. Look, I'm trying to get a little bit of extra juice for my take, all right?
We're in the airport for 72 hours. It's like a Home Alone situation. What an incredible story.
He was not in the airport. Have you even seen Home Alone?
Yeah, but I could see that.
No. Have you even seen Home Alone?
I could see that being a sequel, like where he's in the airport, they leave him in the airport.
Well, joke's on you. There's already a sequel. And he's lost.
You know what I mean? Like a spin-off of the previous one. Home Alone 3 is a travesty, terrible.
And Home Alone 4.
There's a 4th?
I think there's a 5th too.
Well, the first 2 are phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely. Which do you prefer, the first or the second?
I kind of like the second one.
I agree. I think the second one's better. And I think Hevynne Bristow is great too.
News. Okay. The last one's the best one. It's not even close. So I don't know if you saw, but Curt Cignetti tweeted a photo of his desk, which includes
I saw this. Don't subtweet me on the podcast too.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah. So it shows his desk. It shows his office. It also shows his window with a reflection of him taking the photo, which is hysterical. So it's got everything you could possibly want. On his desk is like a note that says, "Let's go get players!" ! And players is underlined, which is right. He's obviously playing to his base, because realistically, a head coach doesn't need a note to remind him, like during the portal era, that like you should be recruiting. But he's got that. He's also got a JMU notebook, and then like another JMU notebook off to the side. And JMU fans were absolutely pissed. But Curt Cignetti has a quote about this. he was asked, or he wasn't directly asked. He was asked about like JMU players and went on a really long answer during Indiana's press conference today. And gosh, this is such a good quote. Okay. I know I'm a villain back there right now. Everybody thinks I've tampered with their players, blah, blah, blah. Hadn't happened. I did a tweet. There was a JMU manual on my desk. I caught flack for that. I always keep the coach's manual front and center of my desk. Anybody that's ever been in my office will tell you that. And every time I take a new job, I don't change the cover until July, right before getting ready to go to training camp. Because that manual, guess what? That ain't JMU's. That's my philosophy on how we run a program.
Newsworthy, but I have a few things. Why don't you change the cover until July?
That doesn't make any sense.
That makes
like
no
2 seconds.
sense.
He could have some underling do that.
And like, look, I was kind of like a little weirded out, and I know it wasn't like, I knew he wasn't using that as like, this is the roster. Let's highlight who we want to tamper with. I know that wasn't it. To me, it was just like weird. Like, you're at Indiana. You're at this Big Ten school. They're paying you $4.5 million a year with every single possible incentive in that contract. They can't print you a new cover and put that on that. You can't have letterhead that has the IU logo on it, not the Duke dog head. Like, it was just a little weird look with his legal pad saying like, let's go get players. And then here's all my JMU stuff. I understand. Thank you for what you did, Signetti. That was weird though. Am I a angry X for thinking that's weird?
Maybe. I don't care at all anymore about Curt Cignetti's tweets or his comments.
Muted. He's been muted on my Twitter.
I just follow him because it's like interesting to see like what they're doing, and I'll pay like somewhat attention just because I'm generally interested. But it's irrelevant. Like it's not going to impact my day if they go 8-4 next year or 4-8. I don't really care. I know they got some players going there. I think he's a good coach. I think his personality is pretty fun. I also think he's kind of a dick, which like can be fun and is also sometimes annoying. But like if you listen to his Indiana presser, he goes on the first minute about how he's looking too far down on the camera because there's a camera, but then also people in the area. And he's talking to his media guy about how it's different than the Big Ten. He's like, oh, we got to straighten everything out in this program. Ha, ha, ha. And then he goes on about how he feels bad for JMU's program taking some of their players, but they'll be okay. And he knew he was like, and when he says he gets them, he's like, oh, it wasn't hard to convince them. They believe in this staff. They love this and this. He's a little bit annoying. He plays to his base. He's very confident, borderline arrogant at times. If you don't like it and you're a JMU fan, you're getting really mad, I would just ignore it because I think Bob Chesney is like more positive, but I think he's similarly confident. I think he's going to take a lot of good players in the portal, talk about how they're going to win games and championships, and fans are going to get super hype about that. Just maybe stay in that bubble then, right? If you like Bob Chesney, you like the Dukes, just ignore Curt Cignetti. It's not that hard.
Yeah, I have muted him. I understand. I get it. I just think it was weird. I just think he's being a little bit of a cock.
I think that's probably fair. I do think some of the stuff, though, where fans are like, he's tampering. I don't think he's tampering. I think a JMU player entered the portal and then he contacted them. That's not tampering.
Yeah, I don't think there was any tampering.
Yeah. There's tampering would be like he hasn't left or he's talking about leaving and then he like calls Mikhail Kamara and is like, hey, I'm thinking about doing something. I don't think that happened at all. I think he just brought him in the portal. He's also not bringing all of them, right? Tyshawn Wyatt's not leaving. We're speculating that maybe Aiden Fisher stays. We got Chauncey Logan back. So it's not the end of the world. And JMU's bringing in some Holy Cross kids. So pretty similar.
The Holy Cross one's different.
They couldn't go to grad school, so
Yeah, all right.
Yes, exactly. They were unable to continue attending their school. It is very different.
No, it's not very different.
Yes,
because
it is.
because they already entered the portal. It's the same thing. It's not like
they entered the portal because they could not attend their school anymore.
But that's not fair because all these JMU fans, yourself included, have said that you think Jalen Walker and these other guys were going to go in the portal already. Who cares if they go to Indiana instead of...
I don't care about that. I'm just saying, yes.
It's a little different. It's a little different, but it's still pretty similar that he's taking some guys from his school. He's going to take other guys. It's the same. It's just transfer.
I don't think there's an issue with JMU players choosing to go to Indiana. A lot of college athletes, in my opinion, do not necessarily commit to the school itself. They commit to the coaching staffs, which I think is what you're seeing with Mikael Kamara. He's not following Cignetti. He's following Pat Kuntz and Bryant Haynes. Jordan McLeod, when he entered the portal, and we all expected him to go to Indiana, he wasn't following Kurt Cignetti. I think he was more because Kurt Cignetti, boy, did he say some mean things about Jordan McLeod. I think that McLeod was following Sunseri and Shanahan. Like, I understand what you're saying. I do think the Holy Cross reason, like the reason they entered the portal wasn't because Bob Chesney was leaving. They had entered the portal when Bob Chesney was still their coach. So I think it's a little bit different overall.
It's different. I'm wrong, but I'm standing by it. I just get so annoyed with the JMU fans when they're like, who could do this? And it's like, well, it's pretty normal in the transfer portal era. And I know the Holy Cross situation is certainly unique, right? With how they don't have grad school, yada, yada, yada.
I mean, Jacob Dobbs, to play that 5th year, just took up a religious studies major so he could play.
Yeah, well, whatever. I just think it's crazy when fans are like, how could Cignetti do this? He's classless. It's pretty standard stuff. And well, the other thing too is like, I know that Dobbs like went into the portal or whatever. If Chesney goes to Syracuse, Jacob Dobbs is playing at Syracuse. So like the connection is pretty massive in terms of the actual end destination. So that's where I think it's weird when people are like, how could you do this? When it's like the connection is the reason, even though the Holy Cross kids had to enter the portal, so they're not technically stealing from Holy Cross. You could say they're stealing from Syracuse. So